Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. We have our Week 9 Saturday preview on tap. We have 4 games to talk about, and there's still one more after that on Sunday that we'll have to get into, but for right now, our focus is on these 4 games that take place on Saturday, so let's dive in. All right, so let's talk about our first game that we have on tap. It is going to be a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. We have the 3-3 San Diego Strike Force taking on the 1-5 San Antonio Gunslingers. And if you would have told me at this point in the season, about halfway through the season, we'd see a 1-5 San Antonio team, I thought you'd be lying, but here we are. We do have quite a bit to talk about when it comes to San Antonio. So let's just jump right in for both sides. Our season leaders, Nate Davis, your leading passer, and your leading rusher as well. Davis, 77 of 127, passing for 799 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks. Zach Reeder, yes, Zach Reeder is your leading passer for San Antonio. 2 for 4, 9 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. So he's either completed passes to his team or the other team. Leading rushers, Nate Davis, 12 carries, 21 yards, 1 touchdown. And again, for what I have here, leading rusher is for yardage, not touchdowns, not carries, anything like that. It's for yardage. Same thing for everyone. Keyshawn Harper, your leading rusher for San Antonio, 43 carries, 129 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then your receiving leaders, Rudy Johnson, 15 catches, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Nyquan Murray, 26 catches, 364 yards, 6 touchdowns through the air. For our injury report, nothing really to report when it comes to the Strike Force. Everything has been the same for the last couple of weeks. For the San Antonio Gunslingers, Hassan Black has been added to the short-term injured reserve, but they did get a player off of short-term injured reserve as well, so we'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. Our game odds, we have an over-under of 79.5, and San Antonio underdogs at home, plus 3.5. Now, if you can see closely, the money line is juiced in favor of the plus 3.5. Plus 100 if you think San Diego is going to win by 4 points or more on the road. Minus 148 to the money line for the Strike Force, plus 124 odds for San Antonio at home. Speaking of home, we are at the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. Again, 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. And our series head-to-head, 1-0 in favor of the Strike Force. They won 69-61 Week 3 of 2024. So it's been over a year since these teams have met. So they only met one time. They were both in the Western Conference. They only met one time last season. So we get to see them again, just brand new rosters and teams and everything. So with that being said, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction, and we're 25% done with our previews. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side, as always, San Diego. I didn't really see any changes from last week to this week. Rudy Johnson, Nate Davis, your quarterbacks. Davis will get the start. Rudy Johnson will be all over the place. Edward Vander, the running back position, but I know he will slot out at wide receiver at times. Wide receivers, Journey Sloan, Dallas Daniels, John Maldonado, and Drayshawn Hudson. And then your offensive line, Christian Olmstead, Jalen Booth, Josh Castro, and Jake Sines. On the defensive side of the ball, Wallace Cowens, Jaquez Mabin, Jalen Joyner, Panea Moa, Karat Garland, and Jackson Cravens. You have 6 defensive linemen. You can only start 3. They most likely have 1 to 2 depth pieces when it comes to that. So we'll see how that goes for them. Your linebackers, Royce C., Frederick Tompkins. Tompkins has played, then he got cut, then he got signed. Royce C. started last week, so we'll see if Tompkins suits up. And then in the secondary, Jericho Flowers, Tariq Lewis, Eugene Ford, Atoa Fox, and Elijah Reed. I thought I remember hearing on the broadcast with San Diego and Northern Arizona that they said Jericho Flowers got hurt part of that game. I don't think I really saw him come back, so maybe he is hurt, maybe he's not. Kind of monitor that. Your kicker is Ernesto Lacayo. Moving over to the San Antonio side, we got something to talk about here. gone is Guy Myers. And they have signed former Iowa quarterback Joaquin Collazo along with former Iowa quarterback Zach Reeder. So maybe the Iowa is rubbing off on San Antonio, and that's not a good thing. Anyway, quarterbacks there, Zach Reeder, Joaquin Collazo. Zach Reeder played the first series or two last week before Guy Myers eventually took over, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Keyshawn Harper, CJ Odom, your running backs. Your wide receivers, Glenn Gibbons, Callie Rashad, Austin Upshaw, Nyquan Murray, and DJ Myers is off of a short-term injured reserve. Offensive line, Matthew Burrell, Quan Stallworth, Joel Galvin, and LaColby Tucker rounding out the offense. Defensively, Ulrich Jones, Austin Collier, Warren Thomas, Justin Sykes, and new signee Darren Brown. I believe he was with the Green Bay Blizzard last season, so that's where we're at. Another depth piece to that line, or to that defensive line. With Hassan Black on short-term injured reserve, Eric Rasko's the only linebacker, and then your secondary rounded out: Clifton Duck, Christoph Page, Jalen Phelps, Kyle Myers, Mike Miller, and Tyler Huddle. I've been calling him Hudel, but Tyler Huddle, as I think is how it's pronounced. He is your kicker. And that is your 25-man roster for San Diego, your 25-man roster for San Antonio. Let's go take a look at our bet and predictions, and we'll move on to preview number 2. All right, bet and prediction time. -3.5. I don't know what San Antonio is. The fact that Zach Reeder got the start, Guy Myers had to come in, and Vegas still kind of destroyed him. Now Guy Myers is released. You bring in Joaquin Collazo, who isn't really a running quarterback that Guy Myers is. So what is this offense going to be? DJ Myers comes off of the short-term injured reserve, so it looks like you're going to try and go back to a passing style offense. I don't know. So I'm going to take the -3.5, mainly because San Diego deals with a passing style offense in practice all the time with Nate Davis. I could be... I'll be honest, I'll be shocked if San Antonio wins this game. I know they're at home. They have it as any given Sunday, any given Saturday, whatever, for the Indoor Football League. There's a lot of parity here. But I don't know. San Diego looked pretty good against Northern Arizona, but so does everyone. I mean, call a spade. But, San Diego has looked good. They have looked bad. This could be a game for San Diego that could potentially springboard them and put them over 500. I think San Antonio needs this game to just boost their confidence. They've gone through a lot of roster changes, and especially at the quarterback position, whether it's been Malik Henry, Guy Myers, now whatever you have. And you look at it, they did have Jorge Reyna at one point, and now he is starting for Tucson. You wonder if a little bit of buyer's remorse there, I guess. But yeah, I just think San Diego looks a little bit better. Again, they played Northern Arizona, so take that with a grain of salt. Northern Arizona kind of does some things to themselves, but San Diego, for all intents and purposes, they were able to move the ball pretty well. They found some holes in the defense to throw the ball and things along those lines. San Antonio, they kind of went toe-to-toe with Vegas at the very beginning, and then they just fell apart, and Vegas capitalized, and that's where we're at. So I'm going to take -3.5. My prediction for this one, short and sweet, 42-33. Zach Reeder had to get subbed out. You don't have Guy Myers as a running threat. I don't know if San Antonio is going to struggle to score, or if this is something that absolutely just propels them. I don't know. Again, it's not a good gauge, but I have San Diego just a little bit better in this one. I do think this is probably a must-win for San Antonio, just kind of maybe salvage their season, but we'll figure it out. So -3.5 for the Strike Force, 42-33 is our prediction for this one. Let's go take a look at our second preview of the night. All right, preview number 2 of the night for Saturday's games. We have another 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. This is a very first meeting. We'll talk about that in a second. But Fishers 2-4 going on the road to Jacksonville, who is 4-2, and Fishers kind of need this one as well. 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Just mentioned that we are on the Indoor Football League Network as with every game this season. Taking a look at our season leaders, Jaya Wright and Caleb Barker, your leading rusher and passer for both teams. Jaya Wright, 36 of 63, which is kind of a cool palindrome or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. I'm not an English major. 297 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Caleb Barker, 65 of 119, 813 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Touchdown to interception ratio is what has people talking. So, Jaya Wright, 73 carries, 342 yards, 10 touchdowns. And Caleb Barker, 45 carries, 210 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground. Your leading receivers, Jordan Kress for Fishers, 15 catches, 172 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Jaden Stoshak, 16 catches, 231 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So every other catch for Stoshak right now is a touchdown. It's kind of incredible to think about. Your injury report, we have added a couple of guys for the Freight. Cam Hunt and John Gay both added just in the last couple of days. Other than that, I think they've gotten a guy off of short-term injured reserve, or they've released him. I think it was Tylan Wallace. For the Jacksonville Sharks, nothing really to report. One caveat I do want to mention here, Tyler King was on the short-term injured reserve, or he still is technically, I guess, but I did not see his name on the Jacksonville website. They still have Robinson and Wilkins, if I'm not mistaken, but they do not have Tyler King, and his number has been given away to someone else who we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, so I'm not sure if he is released or if he's it's just a glitch in the matrix. So just had to add that. Our game odds, over under of 80.5, and Jacksonville favored by more than a touchdown, -7.5 at home, which means Fishers plus 7.5 on the road. Money line plus 195 for the Freight, and -238 for Jacksonville at home. We are at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, and our series head-to-head, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first meeting between the two, and they will get well acquainted next week, as well as I believe this is a back-to-back series. Fishers will travel to Jacksonville tonight or tomorrow night, whenever you're watching this, and then the very next week, Jacksonville will return the favor and head to Fishers, as they will play a back-to-back weeks. You know what I mean? So that's how we have it for this one. Let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and predictions as always. We'll move on with preview number 3. All right. 25-man rosters popping up here, and we take a look at the away side first. Fishers has made quite a few changes. You see a lot of dashes, meaning a lot of new signees. Let's starting off with the offense. Keegan Shoemaker, Jaya Wright for your quarterbacks. Jaya Wright played most of the last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. Shoemaker hasn't made an appearance in a couple of weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty close. If he has, it's been very short-lived. So Jaya Wright, I think, is kind of taking the reins at the quarterback spot. Shane Simpson, your only running back on the roster because they have released John Lewis. So that is a big release there. JT Stokes, Shavir Smith, Isaiah Cox, Jordan Kress, same wide receivers as they've had for the last couple of weeks. And then they've added some offensive linemen. So what they did last week, and I think they've been doing it for a little while, they've been having an extra offensive lineman instead of another wide receiver to add to the blocking game, to add to the running game, first and foremost. So AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Jeremy Cooper, most likely your starters as they've started all season. But Jatarius Spivey, Darius Long, and Daryl Simmons, 2 new signees there. Spivey was lining up as kind of your extra blocker, dare I say fullback almost, in kind of AFL terms when it came to the running game there. So we'll kind of see what they do with that offensive line. Defensively, Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, new signee Akeem Smith, former Iowa Barnstormer, former San Antonio Gunslinger. He's a veteran of the game. And Ayabi Oki rounds out that defensive line. Tamar Hart is your linebacker, and he didn't play when Cam Hunt got in, but now that Cam Hunt is hurt, we'll see who starts at the linebacker position if Tamar Hart is ready to go. And then in your secondary, Sean Steele, Aaron Jackson, Jaden Rowe, AJ Felton, Devin Hafford, and Justice King, a huge veteran in the game. I think Quad City, Iowa, San Diego, you name it, he has probably played for your team. He has added more depth to that secondary. Victor Leventritt is your kicker. And we move on to Jacksonville. Caleb Barker, Blaine Espinoza, your quarterbacks. Barker will be your starter. Espinoza will be your backup. Larry McCammon and Vance Bennett, your running backs. Now, Vance Bennett, again, when he started out with Jacksonville, he was kind of your wide receiver. Then they cut him, brought him back, so he could be kind of that Edward Vander Esch-esque, wide receiver, running back kind of hybrid. Karan Ashley, Jaden Stoshak, Marcus Rogers rounds out your wide receiving core, so not a lot of depth on that wide receiving core. And then your offensive line remains the same. Eric Harris, Leon Brown, Dominic Jackson, and Kenny Fearman, however you pronounce it. Our defensive line, Kevon Bennett, however it's pronounced, I apologize. Chris Rice, Noah Lyles, Isaiah Reed, and Tayshawn Holmes. Your linebacker is Hayden Hatcher. Ja'Cory Johns has been traded to Iowa, who we will talk about in the next preview. And then your secondary, Jay Davis is off of his stint from the CFL, if I'm not mistaken. And then rounding it out, your usual suspects, Tyrese Ross, Jordan Whitley, John Huggins, Malik Jones, Corey Kelly, and Malik Fleming. So quite an upgrade there if Davis is going to start, if he's going to play. And that's the thing I mentioned earlier. Davis is wearing number 1, which is what Tyler King was wearing. So I don't know if that is kind of saying Tyler King's not on the roster. So there we go. Kicker is Dylan Barnes, and then we do have a little kerfuffle here with the numbers too. Dylan Barnes on the website for Jacksonville is listed at number 19, with Vance Bennett not having a number, if I'm not mistaken. But Bennett wore 19 last week, Barnes wore 40, so who knows. That being said, that's your 25-man roster for Fishers. That's your 25-man roster for Jacksonville. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction as we move along. All right, bet and prediction, and I'm going with my gut on this one, which didn't really help me last week when it came to bets, but I have some pretty crappy weeks. I'm going to plus 7.5 for Fishers. I think they cover the spread. Now, 7.5 is more than a touchdown, so you just have to lose by a touchdown or less. And I do think it could be close. There are concerns about Jacksonville's offense. There are concerns about Caleb Barker throwing interceptions. And Fisher's defense has started out all right. They've kind of regressed a little bit. We'll kind of see how they get after it. Both teams do like to run the ball a little bit, which I think could make for a closer game. Now, don't get me wrong, Jacksonville will throw it. Jaden Stoshak has been a huge part of this offense, along with Karan Ashley. But we'll see with Larry McCammon if he does get into the game, or if they still use Vance Bennett, if they do rely more on the running game. We do know Fishers will rely on the running game, and I think Fishers is going to try and shorten that game up. And even though Jay Davis is signed back over from the CFL for Jacksonville, that secondary looks good, but we'll see what they do if Fishers has to play from behind, because Fishers is not that good at playing from behind. So it could get ugly quick if Jacksonville is able to force turnovers. You kind of think about the Iowa game, but Iowa passed the ball like crazy. And we'll just kind of see Fishers as the complete opposite of that. So with that being said, I'm not really sure how that could possibly translate. Iowa turned the ball over quite a bit, and Jacksonville was able to really capitalize on those turnovers. And even if they weren't, they still blew them out. So you could take the under 80. Because like I said, I think both teams will like to run the ball, shorten the game. There just doesn't seem like there's a lot of depth on the offensive side of the ball for Jacksonville. So it could be something where they just don't want to get injured. We'll see. You could take the under, because that's kind of where my prediction goes to. 42-37. I do think Jacksonville does win this game. I do think Fishers covers, though. So with that, I've got it, 79 points. It could be a little more lower scoring than that. It could be, 42-35 or something like that. But you could take the under there as well if you really wanted to. I do kind of lean that way. So that's where we have it. Again, Fishers, if they want to pull this upset, they have to get the ball in their hands, not let it go, and force Barker to commit turnovers. Simple as that. I mean, it can happen, I guess. But at the same time, I think Jacksonville just has a little bit more firepower. I do. And that's not to say that Fishers doesn't have an opportunity to capitalize on stuff, but we don't know. I think Jacksonville does look like the better team. They are 4-2 for a reason. So maybe just some more growing pains for Fishers, but who knows. So there you have it for that one. Plus 7.5. I think Fishers does cover the spread here. And then 42-37, Jacksonville takes the victory, even though Fishers covers. So with that, let's go take a look at our third preview of the night. All right. Let's take a look at our third preview of the night. We have a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. As always, the 4-3 Green Bay Blizzard taking on the 1-5 Iowa Barnstormers, and rivalry renewed, I guess. This is a rematch from Week 2. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's take a look at our season leaders for both sides. Max Myler and James Cahoon, your leading rusher and passer for both sides. Max Myler, 85 of 166, 1,027 yards passing already. They've only played 7 games. You still have more than half a season to go. 18 touchdowns, 4 picks. James Cahoon, 50 of 88, 510 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. Myler, your leading rusher for the Blizzard, 49 carries, 293 yards, and 9 touchdowns. James Cahoon, your leading rusher, 9 carries for 16 yards. Yay. Receiving yards for the Blizzard, Lowell Patron, 18 catches, 290 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And Kean Williams, your leading receiver for the Barnstormers, 34 receptions, 460 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Your injury report, Harry Ballard has been added to the injury report, short-term injured reserve, and honestly, it's just a MASH unit. It seems like every week Green Bay adds someone to it. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Nothing for Iowa to report as of late. I mean, their last injury, April 28th. So Iowa at least staying healthy, all things considered. Your game odds for this one, 85.5 is your over-under, and minus 6.5 Green Bay favored on the road, plus 6.5 for Iowa at home. Minus 218 to the money line for Green Bay, so pretty heavily juiced for the Blizzard, and plus 180 for Iowa if you want to take the home underdog. We are at the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa at a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, as mentioned previously, and our head-to-head. And again, there's a little bit of discrepancy when it comes to this stuff. There's some records lost to the sands of time. I remember seeing this in one of Green Bay's articles a few years ago. Kind of just gone along with it. So the head-to-head here, I have 16-15. It could have one or more wins going Green Bay's way, or maybe the other way. I just want to caveat that, but this is kind of what I go off of. So if it's wrong, I do apologize. But I have it as 16-15 in favor of the Blizzard, with their last meeting being week 2 of this season. So it was a 52-47 win for Green Bay. Yeah, these are 2 different teams than what that was, or what it seems that they were all the way back in week 2. So with that, let's go look at those teams with our 25-man rosters, and we also have betting predictions after that. As we do, we move on. All right, let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first, as always. For Green Bay, TJ Davis and Max Myler are your starting quarterback. Well, Max Myler will be your starting quarterback. Davis will be your backup, but he will also play wide receiver, maybe do some motion handoffs, what he does. Running backs, Jalen Cagle and Kaimani Clark. Their team website has Cagle listed at number 1. He was number 1 last week, and they wore those breast cancer awareness alternate uniforms, which, hey, those were kind of hard to decipher who the players were, but they were able to figure them out. So good cause. Kudos to them for that. Wide receivers, Andre Williams, Lowell Patron, and Terrell Carey. It's a very thin wide receiving core, so I think Cagle and Clark are both going to play and have 5 wide receiver running backs. And TJ Davis obviously will get in there as well. Offensive line, Devin Johnson, Jake Parks, Justice Smith, and Andrew Carter. Your defensive line for the Blizzard, Devin Rice, Tremont Lofton, Allen Henry, and Sean Mustin. Linebackers, Andre White and Jalen Johnson. And then defensive secondary, Nigel Canada, Mamadou Mbai, Kevin Ransom, Gervin Hall, Isaiah Jacobs, and Cale Jackson Jr. Your kicker is James Turner. We turn our attention to Iowa. James Cahoon is your quarterback. There's no backup. That's going to be tough. Alfonso Graham has been signed. He is a running back from Morgan State. Wide receivers remain the same: Keyshawn Taylor, Kean Williams, Jalen Bracey, Shaq Currington, and Raheem Harvey. Your offensive line, Rodney Luckett has been cut. Tyler Castaneda, Paul Fay, Shamari Williams, and new signee Terrence McClain from Memphis. Defensive line, Patrick Godbolt, Joshua Ellison, Gabe Smith, Tyler Tate, Jared Johnson. Linebackers, Kadri Jackson and Ja'Cory Johns. I mentioned that in the Jacksonville preview that Ja'Cory Johns has been traded over from Jacksonville. And then your secondary, Larry Walker, Caleb Street, Isaac Duffy, Jared Sod, Darius Harper, and Jesse Johnson III, a new signee out of Austin P. Let's go P. Kicker is Gabriel Rui, and that is your 25-man roster for the Green Bay Blizzard, 25-man roster for the Iowa Barnstormers. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction. We got one more preview to go after this. All right, bet and prediction, -6.5 for Green Bay. I will never put my faith in Iowa. They have ruined me. And ultimately, the way that Green Bay played against Quad City and just made them look absolutely pedestrian has put a new sense of intrigue and wonder of what the Green Bay Blizzard are, for me at least. They're sitting at 4-3. Their record shows that they are above 500. Clearly, they are in a playoff spot. This is a good gauge for them to get to 5-3 and really bolster what they have. For Iowa to win this game, they have to play perfect. I have not seen Iowa put 4 quarters together this entire season. I'm sorry. There have been fourth quarters where they have looked good, i.e. last week, but it just seems like to me that Iowa is lost. There's a couple of teams in this league that look absolutely lost. Iowa is one of them. I don't know where they go. They are not committed to running the ball at all. The defense has given up a lot of yards and a lot of points, and it has taken garbage time for them and onside kicks, honestly, to get them back into it. So kudos to Gabriel Rui for getting some onside kicks and that kick coverage team to recover them. But for the most part, I mean, that game against Tulsa, that they had to come back and almost, like, people, that score looks close. It really wasn't. If it wasn't for Iowa scoring like 20 to 30 points or whatever it was in the fourth quarter, Tulsa was running away with it. And that's kind of how Iowa's been all season, you know. Green Bay looked really good against Quad City last week. I think Green Bay is kind of hitting their stride a little bit, and this is a good game for them to do so. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I want to reiterate it because this is an opportunity for Green Bay to get to 5-3 and really start solidifying themselves for an opportunity to make the playoffs again. Yeah, they're not going to have the magical run that they had last season, but at the same time, they can still solidify themselves as a player when it comes to the East. Iowa needs to win this game. It's like I mentioned against San Antonio and San Diego, because San Antonio is 1-5. Iowa loses this game, they drop to 1-6. I think the nail is already in Dave Mogensen's coffin. I hate to admit that, but it is, especially if you lose this game, because it's a rivalry game. You're at home. You drop to 1-6, and your season's pretty much done. You're hanging on by a thread here. You need to get to 2-5 by any means necessary. Your only win is against a Fishers team who only has 2 wins. And yeah, I don't know. I have no faith in Iowa. I just don't. So -6.5, my prediction for this one, 49-40 in favor of the Blizzard, and that's kind of being generous. And I think that score is close because Iowa will probably score some fourth quarter points while the game is in hand, and Green Bay takes their foot off the gas. It's kind of the same movie that you watch every week. So that's where I have it until proven otherwise. I got to go with Green Bay on this one. So with that, -6.5, 49-40 is your prediction for that. And there we have it. Let's go take a look at our final preview and we get out of here. All right, final preview of the night, and we have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. As always, Indoor Football League Network. Stream it, love it, pay the money, whatever. We have the 4-2 Vegas Nighthawks taking on the 5-1 Arizona Rattlers. Game of the week. I know I said that last week, and it worked. Between Bay Area and Arizona, this could be more of the same here. Vegas, they looked really good last week. Arizona, they looked really good last week. And Arizona didn't even have a kicker. So more of the same, I guess. Taking a look at our season leaders, Jerome Johnson leading in the passing category along with Dalton Sneed. Johnson, 51 of 86, 641 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not a good touchdown to interception ratio, but what can you do? Dalton Sneed, 86 of 149, 1,033 passing yards. He's been slinging it, man. 21 touchdowns, 4 picks. Rushing leaders, Antonio Wimbush and Dalton Sneed. 57 carries for Wimbush, 196 yards, 10 touchdowns. Dalton Sneed, 40 carries, 163 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Quentin Randolph, and he's good for a deep touchdown, like 20, 30 yards every damn game. 24 catches, 374 yards, 7 touchdowns. And Isaiah Houston, what a season this man is having. 27 catches, 470 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So kind of even yardage, touchdowns, and everything between Randolph and Houston. That's some good statistics. Taking a look at our injury report, Chu Agbana for Vegas has been added to the short-term injured reserve. A couple of guys have been added from the prior weeks, but they have gotten some guys off of short-term injured reserve. For the Rattlers, nothing really to report for them. Dawson Evans is not on short-term injured reserve, so we'll see if they have a kicker this upcoming week or if it's just more of the same. For our game odds, we have an over-under of 92.5. So Vegas, not the team, the casinos, they are expecting some points in this one. Arizona is favored by 5.5 at home, so plus 5.5 for Vegas, plus 164 to the money line for the Nighthawks on the road, and minus 198 for Arizona at home. Desert Diamond Arena is our location for the game in Glendale, Arizona, and I believe Arizona, the Rattlers, are the last undefeated team at home, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check that, so don't quote me. But they are 4-0 at home. Our head-to-head, 4-3 in favor of Arizona in your last meeting. Arizona on a walk-off 2-point conversion victory in the Western Conference first round playoffs last year. So a little bit of revenge on Vegas's mind, I am sure. Arizona, they want to continue their winning ways. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters for both sides. Bet and prediction. We'll get out of here. All right, taking a look at the 25-man rosters for both of these teams as they pop up over my face. With the away side first, Jerome Johnson and Jaden Delora, your quarterbacks for Vegas. Johnson most likely your starter, Delora your backup. Antonio Wimbush, your only running back on the roster. Your wide receivers, Caleb Hawley, Tamarian Terry, Quentin Randolph, CJ Wyndham, CJ Jefferson, and Phoenix Sproles. I want to caveat this. Caleb Hawley has not played in a game all year. He has been activated off the PUP list. I don't know if he's playing a game. Now, I'll say that and probably eat crow as he probably starts in this one or something, but I haven't. I've seen Terry, Randolph, Wyndham, Jefferson, and Sproles all play. I haven't seen Hawley play. Vegas has 26 guys on here. So that could be the odd man out when it comes to the 25-man roster. Your offensive line, Desmond Bland, Zach Fortier, Kevin Toot, and Moses Mallory. So there you have it for your offense for Vegas. Your defense, Maurice Jackson off of short-term injured reserve, Claude Davis, Lorenzo Hernandez, Adam Plant Jr., and Mayan Ahanatu. Your linebackers, Jamal Williams and Mikel Calhoun. Williams has gotten the start the last couple of weeks. We'll see how that goes. Secondary, James Caesar, Rome Weber, Justin Terry off of short-term injured reserve, Darius Williams, and Elijah Blades. Ben Derby is your kicker. And moving over to the Arizona side of things, Dalton Snead is your starting quarterback, and I believe it's Haieva Magale, however you pronounce it. I do apologize if I butchered your name. Shannon Brooks and Ron Brown, your running backs. Both guys played last week against Bay Area. Both guys looked pretty good. Wide receiving core, Jamal Miles, Isaiah Houston, Corey Reed, Brian Smith, Jordan Parker, Trey Dixon. And the injuries that they have occurred here with Houston, Parker, Dixon, I mean, they have kind of taken over a little bit. Houston has been a bright spot for Arizona. Offensive line, Michael Brown, Bryson Mays, and Christopher Straughter. So not a lot of depth on that offensive line. Depth on the defensive line, though, Kevin Sims, Rashawn Yates, Isaiah Coe, James Nimwaya, and Jalen Bass. Your linebacker, Avaya. Oh, I had this in my head at work, man. Lealaya Matafo. God, I almost had it. They were pronouncing it on the broadcast, and I was just playing it in my head, so damn. Devontae Merriweather, Deontay Overstreet, Isaiah Huff, Omari Alexander, Ethan Castleberry for that defensive secondary, and your kicker is Dawson Evans. There's your 25-man roster for the Vegas Nighthawks, your 25-man roster for the Arizona Rattlers. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, and we will move on. All right, so our bet and prediction for this game, I am going under 92.5. I know unders have hit quite a bit this season. I don't think this one will be any different. You're asking both teams to score, 46 points, and that gives you 92. So 47 to 46, but then more in favor of Arizona. I just don't see it, because I think both these defenses are all right, and they can kind of force some turnovers or force some stops, and you're kind of in that 40-point range, I think, for both sides. Injuries occurred to Arizona, whether or not everyone's healthy, Vegas brings their A game, I don't know. So I'm taking the under 92.5. My prediction for this one, 45 to 41 in favor of Arizona. They are at home. They looked good against Bay Area. The defense still looks good. And Vegas, while they looked good, and it could be a confidence builder beating up on San Antonio, now they have to go play Arizona. And that confidence boost could bode well for them in the sense that they could upset Arizona. But I just think there are still some questions for the Nighthawks that need to be answered, and losing this game could just pop up more questions for Vegas. And then kind of solve some things for Arizona, meaning that, hey, they can win games without a kicker. They can win games with a whole bunch of players like Jamal Miles being injured, and not needing Drew Powell as a backup or anything like that. I mean, it's just that's just how Arizona is right now. You gotta give props and everything where it's due with coaching and stuff, but I think Arizona does take this one at home. They continue to be undefeated at home. 45 to 41 for that prediction, but I do think it goes under. I do think these defenses can force some stops, and ultimately, yeah, both those points combined, you're looking at 86. So another touchdown added to that puts you 93. So it's a nice little back and forth, and that's how we take it. But the defenses kind of step up a little bit, and it's not a back and forth like what Bay Area and Arizona were. I think we can see an under hit here. So again, I know Arizona at this point, it just doesn't matter who they plug in at running back or wide receiver. Snead's going to hit them, and they're going to score touchdowns. And Quentin Randolph is always good for some fucking, like I said, sorry, I cussed. He's always good for some sort of 20 or 30 yard just deep bomb. Just like, screw it, he's down there somewhere. So could be eyeing that for all intents and purposes. But as long as they just don't do that too often, I think the under might be the safe bet there. So that's how we have it here, under 92.5 and 45 to 41 in favor of not Vegas, in favor of Arizona. Vegas does not cover the spread. Actually, no, they do cover the spread, So yeah, plus 5.5. So there you have it. Vegas will cover the spread under 92, blah, 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 all of that stuff if you even care about betting. With that, let's go take a look. Or actually, that's our last preview. My brain is out of it right now. With that, let's go wrap everything up and get out of here. And that is it for our Week 9 Saturday preview. Again, 4 games on tap, previewed all of them. If you want to watch your favorite team or want to watch all of them, I appreciate you taking the time to even watch 5 seconds of it. So with that being said, if you guys feel inclined to like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you guys want to do, does not matter to me. Just glad to be back doing all this stuff and slowly but surely catching back up after being sick and a lot of stuff going on at work. So I do thank you again for your patience and being patient with me as a one-man operation. It truly means a lot. So there you go. With that, I'm going to take off here, guys, and get the stuff all out and ready to go so that way we can have a fun and exciting Week 9. So with that, appreciate you guys. Love and appreciate every single one of you. And with that being said, I'm taking off. So see you.